HPPodcraft.com.
There is, in the land of Nar, a vast still lake that is fed by no stream, and out of which no stream flows. 10,000 years ago, there stood by its shore the mighty city of Sarnath. But Sarnath stands there no more.
Ooh. What happened to Sarnath?
I don't know.
You know, I would wonder about that if the title didn't already tell me before I read that paragraph.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Kind of, it's a little foreshadowing there.
I was thinking that a better title might be, Guess What's Coming to Sarnath? Then it could just turn out any way you want.
Yeah, you have no idea. You could guess lots of things. You could think maybe the Wells Fargo wagon is coming to Sarnath. I don't know why.
Chris, what's your name? Well, I just kind of said it. What is your name? Introduce yourself.
My name's Chris Lackey.
I'm Chad Fifer.
And this is the HP Lovecraft Literary Podcast.
We're here at HPPodcraft.com, and today we're talking about the doom that came to Sarnath.
Yeah, the doom. Oh, so much doom.
You know, it's funny. Sarnath is easily pronounceable to me, so it sounds kind of cool. But
yeah.
Manar?
I don't know.
It's hard to say, so...
Is it Manar? Is it Nar?
I don't know what it is.
Nar?
It's exactly what Andrew said. That's what it is.
Whatever Andrew just said, that's how it's supposed to be said. First, the story begins where we find out the origin of Sarnath, where it's from. And it is in this vast land called Nar.
Right.
And before Sarnath was there
was another city on the lake in Manar.
Yes, it was a city called Ib,
which was old as the lake itself, and peopled with beings not pleasing to behold. Very odd and ugly were these beings, as indeed are most beings of a world yet inchoate and rudely fashioned. It is written on the brick cylinders of Kadatheron that the beings of Ib were in hue as green as the lake and the mists that rise above it, that they had bulging eyes, pouting flabby lips, and curious ears, and were without voice. It is also written that they descended one night from the moon in a mist, they and the vast still lake and grey stone city Ib.
Yeah, so Ib was full of green-skinned, big-lipped, weird ears, bulgy eyes. Not too unlike the deep ones.
No, not too unlike the deep ones, which are some sort of hybrid fishmen that pop up in a couple of other Lovecraft stories.
Yeah.
I would point out that they rode. He says they rode down from a moonbeam, basically.
Well, the mist. They rolled down on the mist, which is different.
Found some similarities between this and
yes.
the White Ship. Lots of skating around on moonbeams and moon mists.
That's right.
But he says that they worshipped this sea green stone idol.
Yes, and it was a likeness of Bakrug, the great water lizard.
Right. Do you know what's a water lizard look like?
I
just assume it's a wet lizard.
Well,
in my head.
Well, there's iguanas. There are aquatic iguanas that live out in the ocean and do things like that. But what this makes me think of? Great water lizard, Dagon.
Yeah, it does make me think of Dagon. And he even says we don't know much about this race
because they lived in very ancient times, and man is young and knows but little of the very ancient living things.
Right.
So much of Lovecraft is rooted in that notion. Dagon was rooted in that notion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That there were these civilizations that are down there on the ocean floor that predate man and have these stone idols and that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, what's interesting, I always thought that this story was part of the Dream Quests, but it's not.
No, it's a prehistory.
It's a prehistory, and in fact, Ib is mentioned in a later story, in the Mountains of Madness.
Oh, really?
Yes, briefly.
Oh, how cool!
It mentions that there is history in the Mountains of Madness.
Well, anyway, pretty soon, these creatures in Ib, they're in trouble because men show up.
Yeah.
Dark shepherd folk with fleecy flocks, and the hardier men in the group, they pull right up on that shore of that lake. And they find precious metal in the ground, so they know they want to settle there. And unfortunately, there are these beings of Ib there, and the men don't like them. They just don't like the way they look. They don't like their sculptures. They don't like the way they smell.
They don't like the flabbiness of their skin.
No.
They're got flabby, gelatinous skin.
It says,
as the men of Sarnath beheld more of the beings of Ib, their hate grew. And it was not less because they found the beings weak and soft as jelly to the touch of stones and arrows. So one day the young warriors, the slingers and the spearmen and the bowmen, marched against Ib and slew all the inhabitants thereof, pushing the queer bodies into the lake with long spears because they did not wish to touch them.
They committed genocide, basically.
Yeah, and they destroyed everything. They destroyed the whole city of Ib, knocked down all the buildings, all the structures, the monuments, everything, except
No, they kept something.
they kept something. They keep the green idol, which is like the likeness of Bakrug, the water lizard.
The water lizard.
Which every time he mentions it, he writes Bakrug, the water lizard. He never just writes Bakrug.
Yeah.
He writes Bakrug, the
We've
water
got to remind
lizard.
you.
Yeah. So they keep the statue and they take it to their temple.
Right, so they just show off how they totally ruled
Yeah.
over the people of Ib. I mean, they're just doing it to boast.
To boast.
It says...
But on the night after it was set up in the temple, a terrible thing must have happened, for weird lights were seen over the lake. And in the morning the people found the idol gone, and the high priest Taranlish lying dead, as from some fear unspeakable. And before he died, Taran-ish had scrawled upon the altar of chrysolite with coarse, shaky strokes the sign of doom.
Doom!
So, I mean, does that mean he wrote the word, or is there some sign of doom that everybody recognized?
Well, I mean, this is probably before writing.
So, yeah.
So this is a hieroglyph of that would be doom.
Doom.
So actually, I think a sign, literally a sign.
What do you think it was?
It was
Like a thumbs up?
No, I think it would be the
Thumbs
opposite
down.
of that. It would be a hand missing a thumb.
Oh my gosh, that is doom. This, by the way, you mentioned Dagon, also reminded me of Dagon, but not the H.P. Lovecraft story. The story of Dagon in the Bible that we talked about last time, where they brought the Ark of the Covenant
I was thinking about
to
that.
Dagon's temple. They dropped it off there, and it made everybody in the town sick, and it made the statue of Dagon fall down. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. So the idol disappears. It's never found.
Yes.
The centuries go by, and only a few priests and old women remember the big doom side. I thought it was funny when he said only a few priests and the old women remember it after a few centuries. Like, man, those are some old women. But the city prospers.
Yeah, it does great. They get all this. They get all the material and metals that are native to the lake, and they start trading, and caravan routes get established with local cities.
So Sarnath waxed mighty and learned and beautiful, and sent forth conquering armies to subdue the neighboring cities. And in time there sat upon a throne in Sarnath the kings of all the land of Nar and of many lands adjacent.
Yeah, so basically, Sarnath rules.
Yeah, and from here, the story gets a little dull. It's just kind of paragraph after paragraph after paragraph describing how awesome Sarnath is.
Yeah.
And in my head, it finally got to me. I started hearing Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I actually even thought today, man, wouldn't that be great if we could get him to be our reader?
That would be awesome.
In Sarnath, it was nothing but champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Some excerpts. I don't even think we should have too much of this in here, but some excerpts of how awesome it is.
The wonder of the world and the pride of all mankind was Sarnath the Magnificent. But more marvelous still were the palaces and the temples and the gardens made by Zakar, the olden king. There were many palaces. So high were they that one within might sometimes fancy himself beneath only the sky. Outshining all others was the palace of the kings of Mnar and of the lands adjacent. On a pair of golden crouching lions rested the throne, many steps above the gleaming floor. And it was wrought of one piece of ivory, though no man lives who knows whence so vast a piece could have come. In that palace there were also many galleries, and many amphitheaters where lions and men and elephants battled at the pleasure of the kings. Sometimes the amphitheaters were flooded with water conveyed from the lake in mighty aqueducts, and then were enacted stirring sea fights or combats betwixt swimmers and deadly marine things.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great!
Yeah,
That
definitely
was-
marine things.
I was so bored with the descriptions of this place until it got to that.
Yeah, well, I know in ancient Rome they would often fill the well, not often, but occasionally fill the Colosseum with water and reenact sea battles.
I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Did they ever make gladiators swim around there and fight sharks? And
I
that
don't
stuff?
know about that specifically, but I do know that they filled it up with water and they had like mock battles.
That
like,
is
in
so
boats.
cool. I didn't know that. That's so.
And I'm sure Lovecraft knew that too, and that's why
Of course.
we put that in there.
But I just imagine Russell Crowe fighting an octopus, man. That would be like the best thing.
Well, when he says sea creatures, I like to think that they're like monsters,
Yeah,
not
Not just your
some
octopus.
sharks,
Right,
or
right.
octopus or
Oh,
anything.
totally. I mean, actually, I thought some of the stuff in there was pretty innovative. He goes on about how they have air conditioning and heat was one of the things. They have like fans directed around so that air gets in everywhere, and then they have like strategically placed fires so that people don't see them and feel the heat. There's rare birds flying around, nice houses, lots of places to pray to small gods.
Lots of domes of glass.
Yeah.
Pretty advanced civilization.
But then we get to the part after all this description where maybe they go a little too far, because he starts talking about this holiday they have.
Well, yeah, each year they celebrate in Sarnath the feast of. It's called the Feast of the Destroying of Ib. Like that's the name of the holiday.
The Feast of the Destroying of Ib.
At which time wine, song, dancing, and merriment of every kind abounded. Great honors were then paid to the shades of those who had annihilated the odd ancient beings, and the memory of those beings and of their elder gods was derided by dancers and lutanists crowned with roses from the gardens of Zokar, and the kings would look out over the lake and curse the bones of the dead that lay beneath it.
Man, these guys are assholes.
They are such assholes. We have the 4th of July to commemorate our independence.
Right, but we were, we were fighting an oppressor.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's not like on the 4th of July you can just go out and sock a British guy in the mouth or something like that, I mean, they stand there and they curse the lake. That
would be like if we had a holiday celebrating the destruction of the Native American people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we celebrate it, and every year we curse the bones of the people that were here before us. That's how wrong this is.
Right, exactly. And you know what? At first, the priests didn't like it.
No, they didn't. They were like, this is not cool,
But time passes.
Time passes without calamity, and even the priests laughed and cursed and joined in the orgies.
Well, they have, they're doing their own secret rituals on top of that.
Right.
They go up to this tower, and they just, I don't know if they take a dump on the statue or what they do.
Yeah, they don't really say what they do.
They have a secret thing they do up there, and
it's a secret rite in
detestation of Backrog and
the water lizard.
The water lizard. So 1,000 years pass like this,
yes. And on the 1,000th year,
that's when people are really excited, because the 1,000th year celebration is going to be amazing. People are making costumes. They're dressing up like the people of Ib.
That's a long reign for a civilization too. 1,000 years.
It's very long. Yeah. It's a very long reign to have a holiday like that.
Yeah.
And to have it not just, it's a festival of the destroying of Ib, like, I get the day off, but I don't really celebrate it, We have a barbecue in the backyard. I don't even know what we're doing this for. Not like that at all.
No.
They're very excited.
They're really excited about it. They still have orgies and feasts.
Yeah. This portion tickled me.
Within his banquet hall reclined Nagas Hay, the king, drunken with ancient wine from the vaults of conquered Noth, and surrounded by feasting nobles and hurrying slaves. There were eaten many strange delicacies at that feast. Peacocks from the distant hills of Linplan, heels of camels from the Benazik desert, nuts and spices from Sedathrian groves, and pearls from wave-washed metal dissolved in the vinegar of Thra. Of sauces there were an untold number, prepared by the subtlest cooks in all Nar, and suited to the palate of every feaster.
I love that the king even drinks like an asshole. Like he just can't have some wine. He gets ancient wine from a conquered people.
Yeah.
He just breaks into some poor person's house. What is the oldest scotch you have? Give it to me. I'm going to drink it and just throw it away. Because I got a saucier out here.
My favorite line is, of sauces, there were an untold number.
Classic Lovecraftian description. Yeah, a number of sauces which shall not be told. Subtlest cooks. He really has they have some iron chefs there too. These very subtle cooks.
Oh, I know.
But I guess they figure out what taste you really like.
Yeah.
They put it in the sauce.
They're that good.
So everything's going great.
It was going great, and they were getting served on these gold platters.
Yeah.
All this food was being served on gold platters. I'm setting this up for a reason.
It was the high priest Naika who first saw the shadows that descended from the gibbous moon into the lake, and the damnable green mists that arose from the lake to meet the moon and to shroud in a sinister haze the towers and the domes of fated Sarnath. Thereafter, those in the towers and without the walls beheld strange lights on the water, and saw that the grey rock Akurion, which was wont to rear high above it near the shore, was almost submerged, and fear grew vaguely yet swiftly, so that the princes of Ilarnek and of Far Rockall took down and folded their tents and pavilions and departed, though they scarce knew the reason for their departing.
Yeah, they got the heck out of there.
Yeah, it's like
because something's wrong.
Yeah, it's like rain hitting Coachella or Burning Man. Everybody's just folding up their stuff. The club kids and the hippies, get out of here, man! This festival's going south!
Then, close to the hour of midnight, all the bronze gates of Sarnath burst open and emptied forth a frenzied throng that blackened the plain, so that all the visiting princes and travelers fled away in fright, for on the faces of this throng was writ a madness born of horror unendurable, and on their tongues were words so terrible that no hearer paused for proof. Men whose eyes were wild with fear shrieked aloud of the sight within the king's banquet hall, where through the windows were seen no longer the forms of Nargis Hay and his nobles and slaves, but a horde of indescribable green voiceless things with bulging eyes, pouting flabby lips, and curious ears. Things which danced horribly, bearing in their paws golden platters set with rubies and diamonds and containing uncouth flames.
Yeah.
Yes! I love that they danced horribly. You know, because there were just a few guys at that party that were like, you have got to be kidding me. I spent this much on my outfit and those guys are getting all the attention. Those dances are terrible.
Those are terrible dances. Well, I mean, I would have thought of it as not...
Yeah, it was some kind of dance that just didn't make any sense to your mind or something.
Well, they got those gelatinous bodies.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, they're like bending in weird ways.
Yeah,
that
you don't want to
bodies
see...
can't bend.
You don't want to see a funky chicken on something like that.
No, it's beyond funky.
Yeah. So people freak out and they run away.
Yeah.
They never come back.
No.
Well,
Eventually.
some people do. Well, later some golden-haired, blue-eyed adventurers do make the trip.
Yeah, they go, hey, let's go find out what happened to that town.
Yeah.
That town Sarnath.
They get out there.
Where once had risen walls of 300 cubits and towers yet higher, now stretched only the marshy shore, and where once had dwelt 50 million of men now crawled the detestable water lizard. Not even the mines of precious metal remained. Doom had come to Sarnath.
There you go. Those people, they learned their lesson.
Yes, they did.
Start worshiping that god.
Yeah. Oh, you think that's the lesson they should have learned?
That's the lesson.
And that's
It's not about genocide. It's about, hey, that's the god that eventually, even if it'll take 1,000 years, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Even though probably all the people that originally did the bad thing, had really awesome lives and then died happy.
The great water lizard is great.
Well, it's in his name.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the story.
That's
correct?
the end.
So, Chris, did you like it?
I did like it. It does go on a bit.
Yeah.
And in the the first page is great, the last page is great. The
Right.
middle there's some interesting little tidbits in there. He paints this picture of the civilization, but I'm a guy that likes, a little bit more of a story.
Yeah, move it along.
Move it along.
Now, I agree with you, but and this was indulgent. Normally would put me off, but precisely because the title tells me what's going to happen, I know that doom is coming. It's in a way, it's like almost a visceral thrill watching how beautiful the city becomes. You know that it's going to burn down, and it's like when you build a house of cards when you're a kid. And you really go into detail and you're really careful, but you're just going to knock it down. And it's going to crumble.
Right.
Or like watching people will line up when they do special effects for a movie to watch a house blow up.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the more beautiful it is, the more great it is to watch it be destroyed. I remember I used to I'd get all my toys out and I would line them up and set them up. I used to take some of my action figures and put them in little scenes and then just set them all on fire. Right. Just because it was great to take something of beauty and destroy it in a way.
Yeah, no, I get
and
it.
in that way, I appreciated the story. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. I mean, Mythbusters is part of its longevity is the fact that, they keep blowing up stuff. And
right.
I watch it. I love it. Watching stuff blow up in a high-speed camera is
it's great.
Awesome.
And they take a really long time to make sure that everything's how it's supposed to be.
Right,
and then
boom!
It's over in a second.
And in that way, I think it's pretty cool.
What's the background on this story?
See, now, here's the thing. This is often associated with Lovecraft's dream cycle.
Yeah.
See, here's the debate about it, is that in the Dreamlands, ancient things still live in the Dreamlands.
Right.
So that's kind of like, of course it's not stated in this story or in any story. I mean, maybe in the Dream Quest
of
Unknown Kadath, which we'll get to eventually. That those things somehow cross over. I just read an essay by S.T. Joshi where it's all about Lovecraft's dreamland stories and his, quote-unquote real stories. Lovecraft was a guy writing stories. He wasn't necessarily trying to make cohesive canon.
No.
So there's some ambiguity about where certain things are. Mm-hmm. But definitely, Sarnath is ancient history, like he says in the beginning, and it's mentioned again much later in his career at Mountains of Madness, so end of story. This story was originally published in The Scot in June of 1920, so we are now in the 20s.
We're now in the 20s.
The roaring 20s.
Yay! Ain't we got fun?
Also, this one is supposedly influenced a lot by the work of Lord Dunsany.
Right.
Also, this is one of those things, is that Sarnath is actually a historical city in India, but Lovecraft didn't know that. He thought he invented the name, but it was later discovered that by him that Sarnath is actually a place.
There's no movies of this story as far as I know.
No.
Oh, I'd make a great slasher. I know what you did 1,000 years ago to those moon creatures.
There was well, there's that there was like a 70s horror movie called Inhumanoids from the Deep.
Oh yeah, and
that's like a deep one.
That's a deep, yeah, but that's similar to this. Like they're having a festival and the monsters come up from the ocean and
they kill everybody on the pier.
I think they do more than kill everybody.
Yeah, there's some rape going on.
Yeah,
it's pretty disturbing.
I think there's even 2 versions of that movie too. I think somebody remade it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible and scarred me horribly as a child.
We'll have to watch those before we get into the
the
Innsmouth stuff.
I'll put that in there. So last week, Chad, our story was The White Ship. And I edited that particular episode, which I normally don't do. Chad, you do those things. So I spent a lot of time with it. And the more I thought about it and the more I, read it and went, really got into it and was actually listening to Andrew Lehman reading it, I got into it way more. I found it to be really, really sad. And that's not something that I originally got from it. Like, I just kind of read it, and then the silly things jumped out at me, and then I just kind of dismissed it. But in the beginning of the story, when he talks about how he's the lighthouse operator, and his grandfather, there was lots of ships, and then his father, there were fewer ships and fewer with him, and then that really just hit me as being really sad and pathetic. And then this whole kind of dream quest journey he has is sort of a reflection of his life and where he is and where he's going and what he wants, and I just wanted to share that.
Your opinion changed.
It did.
Through listening to our podcast.
Yeah. Which kind of blows my mind, but it did.
Well, yeah, that's how good we are, man. We can reconvince ourselves that other things are good that we didn't like before.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little pat on the back for myself there.
Yeah. So here's another thing I wanted to bring up. So I've gotten a few emails, and I think there's been a few postings on comments about whether or not I was joking if
you got engaged.
If I got engaged. And yes, I did get engaged, and Rachel is my fiance.
And by the way, on the White Ship podcast, which was broadcast on Lovecraft's birthday,
yes,
we did have some excellent singing and playing at the beginning.
And that was Rachel.
And that was Rachel singing.
She sang, and then I played the ukulele.
Ah, man, you guys are awesome. You got to take that on the road.
I think we have a new act now.
Yeah. No, seriously, I saw on YouTube people are already posting that, making their own videos and stuff.
Really? Oh, that's great. No, that's not true.
It's just Lovecraft floating in a spiral.
Oh, and also on Lovecraft's birthday, Garrison Keillor on NPR brought up Lovecraft's birthday on his Writer's Almanac that he does.
Garrison Keillor from Prairie Home
Companion. He does this thing called Writer's Almanac, and he just talks about, a writer that day, if there's some kind of significance, and, he just goes on about it. That was my Garrison Keillor.
That was really good.
Thanks, yeah.
You had me dozing off even. Sorry, Garrison, sorry.
I had a letter that I got. We have a listener in Poland.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to read you this Polish letter. Now, I wrote him because this letter is adorable and hilarious. Partially intentionally, partially not intentionally.
Okay.
So I wrote him a letter in response and said, I would like to read your letter, but I'm going to, because he apologizes for his English. Uh-huh. And that's what makes it pretty funny.
Okay.
But I told him that that's what I was going to do. And he said, no, do it. I'm excited about it. His name is, he signs it Demi. So Here you go. I just want to send some positive feedback and thank you for creating such a cool podcraft.
Aw.
Lovecraft isn't a very popular writer here, and it is so great to hear some discussions about his novels. I downloaded your podcast on my MP3 player and listened to them while walking to workplace. Today morning, I almost shit my pants. Hold on, this is funny, because this was intentionally funny. Today morning, I almost shit my pants waiting for a green traffic light when I heard about grim Eskimos, their furry coats, and their kisses! ! Brilliant! Best regards from Poland, Demi.
Oh, that's
it's awesome.
That's wonderful.
That is great. But also, I wanted to say we've got a Facebook page.
Yay.
And it'll be in our show notes. And, just when we post new stuff, I'll post on Facebook. So if you're Facebook crazy, you can be more in touch. If you're not in touch enough.
What else you got?
I don't have anything.
I wanted to say, I forgot to say this earlier, that this story tapped into my deep-seated hatred of rich people. It just reminded me, and I don't have that anymore, because, I know some wealthy people, but I guess, at one point in my life, I really didn't like people who were wealthy.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a stupid prejudice to have,
Yeah.
Obviously, some of them are bad, some are good. It's just like anything. But I remember and a lot of it had to do with, I sometimes would date different girls who maybe had more money than me, and I would feel insecure, and then that's where that kind of thing would bubble up. But I remember having a particularly bad breakup with somebody, and talking to my friend Josh Bentley and saying, man, sometimes I just want to drive up to those suburbs and just wreck everything they have out there. Just vandalize. And he said to me, he goes, yeah, man, I'll do that with you if you want. He goes, I like breaking shit, I want too. And it was like somehow he both got on my side and also kind of told me what I was really doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was one of the wiser things I've heard in my life. And this story, which is really about building up a bunch of rich people and showing off all the stuff they have and then taking it away from them.
Right. Well, Lovecraft knows a little bit about
poverty.
Poverty and being wealthy and losing that wealth. And maybe he had some kind of... maybe he felt like something happened in their past that he deserved it, like he was paying for the sins of his his father, or his family.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of that.
Well, sure. It's a satanic deal, a Mephistophelian kind of deal that you find in classic literature like Faust. That if somebody has something that's really good, they must have done something wrong or done something shady in the past, and one day they will pay.
Right.
And it's kind of a moralistic tale that makes it more palpable for people to accept that other people have more than them.
Right. Because eventually they're going to get there.
They're going to get theirs.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
whether it's here or somewhere else.
Well, I mean, that's, most of religion is based off that idea, too.
Yeah, sure.
Eventually you're going to get what's coming to you. There's going to be...
So is celebrity culture, I mean, we put a lot of effort and time as a culture into making people look beautiful and wonderful. And then when they attain a certain level of height, we put most of our energy into tearing them down, abusing, and destroying them.
Yeah, when celebrities have some kind of bad thing happening to them, everybody just loves it.
They love it.
They
eat
it up. Yeah. They want to know everything there is to know about it and how bad it is. And yeah, I see it.
HP saw it too, Chris.
Boy, did he. So next week.
Oh yeah, next week's great. I'm so excited.
I'm trying not to throw up right now. I'm so excited.
Oh man.
Next week.
You say it.
Okay, next week. I know it's hard for me to say it. I'll say part of it, and then maybe you might have to finish it. Next week we're gonna have a guest host. Somebody's gonna step in, and it's not just gonna be me and Chad talking about it. It's gonna be me and Chad and
Andrew Lehman. Our reader is finally coming. He's gonna into the booth with us.
Yeah, he's gonna grace us with his commentary and
on the story, the statement of Randolph Carter.
The statement of Randolph Carter.
That's all I've got, Chris.
That's all. I think that's plenty. I'm Chris Lackey.
I'm Chad Fifer,
and this is the HP Lovecraft Literary Podcast.
HPPodcraft.com.
HPPodcraft.com.